All right, hey everyone. It has been a while since I made a film review. I think this one deserves it because I decided, hey, you know what? After all, it's a Superman movie. What could go wrong? Let's go and watch a movie after literally forever. So I took my wife and we went. Saturday night, it was great. We had fun, but this film has a lot of problems that I would like to talk about. As you can already see, my rating there doesn't look too good, but I have my reasons for it. So first of all, did we enjoy it? No. Was our Saturday night great? Yes. Well, because we went to a bit of a festival and we enjoyed it and we followed it with the movie after. So, we still had great vibes. And all the people who joined us in the cinema, I think, were also just there to chill and whatever. But here's the thing. We were in the cinema and the atmosphere just didn't feel like a Superman movie. And I can tell you this because you'd expect people who come to the movie to follow with the story and enjoy the laughs and the oohs and the ahs and all the surprises will hit them and they'll go, whoa, like just react to it just in general. And I was the one who was actually doing the most reaction. I was the one who was chuckling the most. And we had an almost full capacity cinema. And I think it was me and maybe like three or four other groups of couples or families or whatever. The rest of the people just didn't really get into it. Like they just felt that this film just wasn't giving them any real joy, and you could tell it. And it really was bad. And I think you can really tell when people come to the cinema enthusiastically because we were all dressing up in some way or another. Like me and my wife, we had this Superman t-shirts with the emblem on top. There was two people who came in like a full Superman suit, but they didn't have the new suit. Obviously, I guess they just wouldn't have it yet at where I am. So they had the Henry Cavill version of the super suit, and one guy had like a jacket over it. The other guy just wore the full super suit with all the way to the ankles, and he was in full blue. People were taking pictures with him. It was super fun. And at first, I thought he was like promoting the film or whatever, and he was like part of the Cineplex. Turns out that that dude was actually just like he was just super enthusiastic. He wore Superman, and he came. But and I actually tried to stop him and speak to him shortly after the film. And yeah, even he didn't like it, and it was shocking. And it is not. And he was telling me like he's not even a fan of Snyder, to be honest. And he's like, no, I didn't. He didn't really like a lot of decisions in The Man of Steel. But having watched this movie, we both agree, I think, that this is the worst Superman film ever made. So take my word for it. This is the worst Superman film ever made. It's not the worst movie. It's not the worst other things of, by whatever means. The reason I'm rating it a 3 is there are several reasons, but let me break it down for you. It's not that bad of a film. So for me, one thing for sure, if I rate a film like 5 or above, it's a film that I would definitely want to rewatch, right? That's one of the main key things about for me about a film is the film has to be really good to the point you really want to rewatch it because it's so enjoyable, it's so addictive, it inspires you, it makes you want to go back to it like from time to time just because of how great the feeling of watching the film was. A good example I can give you is Dark Knight, even Man of Steel. Like after some time you want to just go back and watch Man of Steel because it's cinema, dude. It's just such an amazing film, right? And The Dark Knight is another good example where from time to time you want to go back and rewatch the film. They all have their weaknesses, right? Even the Avengers, bloody hell, had like so many weaknesses, but even the Avengers is a great popcorn film. You can just go back and watch it like a year or two later, and it works really well. And even Age of Ultron just gives you the same feeling. Even um, what do you call this? The Spider-Man films give you that feeling, right? You want to go back and watch all the Spider-Man films as often as possible, to be honest. But this is one of those movies I really felt under the 5 pointer because it just didn't have the quality to make me want to rewatch it. And I thought about it why exactly, and there are several problems with it. Now, first of all, the soundtracks. Are the soundtracks in this film good? First short answer is no. It does not give me the level of soundtracks that we got in films like Man of Steel or even the 1978 Superman. And now let me just go down memory lane and show you guys a little bit of what the evolution of Superman films have been like. So we have, of course, the 1948 films, which they were majorly flawed, but they had a vision, right? They had an idea, and they were very early on. You can't really blame these films for trying to work with what goofy ass stories they had from the comic books. And then the comic books expanded and they developed, and people realized that Superman is actually a very, very difficult character to write, a very difficult character to play. That all changed when they found Christopher Reeves, and I think Richard Donner as the director really knew how to do this, right? And I'm no, they have Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster, Mario Puzo. I actually don't know much about these writers. I or mostly just watched like the making of and got to know who this director is, watch some interviews, that kind of stuff, right? So I don't really know too much about the writers. But one thing I can tell you is that they definitely did a great job in writing this character. Like they knew what ticks this person and what wouldn't, and they knew how to create a villain. Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, right? And Gene Hackman with his flaws and whatnot, he was still an amazing Lex Luthor, and I think until today my favorite Lex Luthor. I think the only other Lex Luthor that did a better job was the one from Smallville. Right, Smallville was the only other Lex Luthor that actually did a good job. The only downside of Smallville is that you don't really see, Superman and Lex Luthor in their full glory yet because, they're very much still in high school and college and whatnot. So the story that's within Smallville is like its own meta universe, its own like non-canon universe, I would say. I don't think that's canon by any means because there's so many things that happen in Smallville for just dramatic purposes that don't really tie into the main story. And so this, I would say, would be arguably the best Superman film. I think there's no doubt about it. 1978 Superman still lives up to what it originally intended. It has heart. It knows what it wants to do. There's no bullshit. It doesn't try to pretend to be something else. And try to add in all these subplots, all these sub characters that have absolutely no meaning. Every character in the story have a purpose. They have a meaning. They fulfill their role. And most importantly, I think what people need to realize why Superman does what he does, right? So let's like we know he's an alien, right? But whether he's an alien or whether he's human, at the end of the day, what gives a person their values is their family, and the family is the core to every person's development. And even if you're an orphan, you still have a family, like the place you grew up, the friends you make, right? You can consider all of these your family. They're all part of the people who shape you. The words you hear from your early childhood are a lot of the times the things that shape you. And so Superman was there to ideally be part of people's childhood because it was intended to shape kids to be inspired to do good, right? And how to do that is by watching a person who is Superman, who was also raised by parents who taught him to do good. And you must understand that Superman did not know who his like his actual parents were until he was very much older, like maybe 10 or 11 years old, right? So until he came, like it's the same in this story, it's the same in Man of Steel. He only gets, like his father only shows the ship which he arrived in when he's very much older, right? So a lot of his core values are developed by, like, so yeah, Kevin Costner playing his dad is fantastic actor, absolutely amazing. And you do know that Superman actually learns a lot of things from his core, in like his main parents as he grows up, right? It's not so much about the actual parents. It's the adopted parents who did the most work. And you must understand he's extremely lucky to come across Ma and Pa Kent, right? Like these two characters are essential to his story. In the new Superman, they absolutely ruin that part of his life. They very much show him. So the film starts off with him actually crash landing, as you see in the trailer, after a fight with apparently this character they call Ultraman or the Hammer of Baravia, something like that. Baravia. I'm not sure. I could be butchering it with an actual state. I apologize, but yeah, I think it's Hammer of B, right? And this Hammer of B slams him, and he comes crashing down. And it's the first time this Superman has ever lost a fight in 3 years since he was established as Superman. So it's interesting. So it's not like they're introducing him at his weakest or he's just a failure. It's none of that shit, right? He actually is really, really powerful. He's been doing amazing things for like 3 years, but for the first time he has lost the fight, and that's against this Hammer of Baravia or whatever. And that's actually Ultraman who's wearing the suit. And who Ultraman is, I'll get to it later. But the thing is, he gets knocked down and he's taken to his what do you call this, Fortress of Solitude by Crypto. And I don't mind Crypto actually. This is the first time Crypto is in a film, and I think Crypto was not done justice, to be fair. Crypto was a very very poor part of this story. Like I would say you can remove Crypto and the story works just fine. Like Crypto does not help this story in any way. Like Crypto is not the best part. He's not even a okay part. Crypto is nothing in the story. He is insignificant to this story, right? But Crypto takes him to the Fortress of Solitude, where he has these robots who are also insignificant to the story. The robots don't add any value to this story, right? But the robots take him, they put him on a chair, and then they give him this high blast of solar radiation so that he recovers faster. And as they carry him to put him on this chair to get the solar, charge, he starts to they say he likes to listen to the words of his parents. They are soothing to him, and they play the voice of Jor-El and what do you call this, Lara, I think, his wife, right? And so the two of them tell him, like, "Hey son, you are sent to Earth to help people out and to do good and blah blah." And so he takes their word for it. And apparently, the second half of the message is like destroyed or something is damaged, so they can't quite recover it. These advanced Kryptonian androids and their technology can't recover the missing message, right? So there's nothing they can do about the lost message. So it's lost, right? Just agree that it's lost, because you must understand, Kryptonians are an extremely advanced superhuman race. These people have been going around colonizing entire planets, controlling galaxies. They're ridiculously powerful. And the fact that Superman is here and able to immediately be the greatest, most powerful person on Earth tells you how powerful his technology is and how powerful the Kryptonians are actually. Right? Imagine like two of him. That would end everything, like, right? So as I say that, that's a bit of foreshadowing. But as I say that, um, that's what they're playing to him, and he hears this. So they're showing like how, okay, so he's actually getting motivation from his actual parents, his alien parents, to want to do good. They don't actually show any of those values coming from Ma or Pa Kent. And when they do show Ma and Pa Kent, they actually show them like a bunch of bumbling buffoons kind of thing. Like they're just these very I don't know, like country people who don't quite understand how to use the right words. They're not intelligent enough to know whether he can recover from something like kryptonite poisoning. I'm sure these are things that they would know. Like this is your kid. I'm sure he has had kryptonite poisoning before, because everyone seems to know about it. So there was a few other characters in this film. Let me just scroll down and show you some of them. So they had what's this guy's name? So yeah, we go. Boravian tech. So it is the Hammer of Boravia. I think that makes a lot more sense. What's that guy, the tech guy? Keep forgetting his name. I don't often see this character. He was great, by the way, but I really can't really remember this character. So there's Hawkgirl, there's Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, and there's Mr. Terrific. Ah, there we go, Mr. Terrific. So, like, Mr. Terrific knows about, kryptonite poisoning. Guy Gardner knows, Hawkgirl knows, Lex Luthor knows, the entire U.S. government knows, everyone knows about kryptonite and what it can do to Superman. So the fact that when he, at one point gets kryptonite poisoning, Ma and Pa Kent is like, will he be okay? I'm like, so what do they know about Superman? Do they not know anything about him? Like, other than the fact that their son is Superman and has been doing this for so many years? You're telling me he has maybe never visited them, never spoken to them? Like, he derives their values from the childhood of growing up on the farm. Like, the fact is, what they're trying to teach people is that these farmers won't know anything about this high-tech, advanced alien race. They're definitely not as intelligent as Guy Gardner, as Mr. Terrific, as Hawkgirl, as Lex Luthor, as Lois Lane, as the US government. They can't be as intelligent as any of them. But the fact that they're able to raise Superman successfully means that their core family values is the strongest, most powerful thing they have. Something that a lot of other people don't, which is why everyone is surprised. Like, not in this story because they don't know where he was raised, right? But most people are surprised when they find out Superman's heritage. And in Man of Steel, you see that. You see Zod actually saying, "Where were you raised? On a farm?" Like he's like mocking it, right? But he's mocking it, but it's also in disbelief because he wouldn't. He eventually got defeated by the kid who was raised in the farm, right? So the truth is the core Christian, kind of like farmer family values that Ma and Pa Kent has is actually what makes Superman Superman. And in this film, they did not respect that at all. And I didn't like that because they don't give you an origin story. They straight away shove you into this guy who's been doing this thing for a few years, 3 years to be specific, right? And that's all that is fine, fair enough. But they very much try to show that it's about his alien family values and not so much about the Earth's family values, which is what actually makes him human, right? Because they try to say that he's an immigrant. He comes from this alien race. And yeah, that's the point. He's actually a legal immigrant, right? Because he's a refugee. He was adopted by this family who took pity on this kid and decided that if they don't do it, the alien, the government is going to capture him and do experiments on him, right? So they rescue him, they raise him up, and they teach him American values. They teach him to do good, and he's fully assimilated. He works, as a reporter. He pays his, taxes, obviously, and all this good stuff, right? So he is the epitome of the American dream because he actually comes to America, he grows up, he accepts American values and he lives up to it. And again, truth, justice, and the American way. These are the core values of what Superman makes, right? Truth and justice, everyone gets that. The American way, that's something that even Kansas farmers get, and that's the point that they gotta learn how to make. And I think it's just a difficult concept for people. I'm not American, and I understand all of this because I've watched Superman, I've read his comics, I know what he means to people, right? And for the fact that the American director can't get this, it's just shocking to me, right? And I think that's kind of the problem that America is having. There's this kind of paradigm shift between what's, left and what's right and all this political nonsense that's been going on. And quite frankly, no one cares about it in a Superman film. In a Superman film, it's not political to be American, right? I think that's something that Americans are having a problem with is what is American anymore, right? Is it being political, right? So I think they're kind of confused in that sense, and they're trying to not know what actually makes Superman Superman anymore because I don't know whether they actually read the original comics or know why a child grows up to be a certain person. I think it's such an alien thing for them because they don't know what family values are anymore. It's just so weird, right? It's this weird thing. So anyway, that's the opening scene where he recovers from the sunbeam, and then he gets up and he goes on to continue about goes back to try to fight the Hammer of Baravia or anything or whatever in a second battle. So the Hammer of Baravia inside is wearing a mech suit. So inside the mech suit is actually Ultraman, and who Ultraman is, I'll just tell you straight up, is a clone of Superman. So Lex Luthor manages to clone Superman, but no one knows this until very much later in the film, right? So Lex Luthor's objective is to try to get into the Fortress of Solitude because Lex Luthor doesn't want to just kill Superman. He wants to make sure the Superman also doesn't die a martyr because there are other superheroes in this world, and Lex Luthor I think just doesn't want to inspire any of them or give them the backing to want to challenge him and defeat him. Because Lex Luthor clearly wants to be known as the hero in this picture. He wants to defeat Superman. He wants the U.S. government's backing, and he wants to be able to, I guess, eventually dominate the superpower space because he is highly intelligent, is able to create his own soups. But he's often challenged by, I guess, the Justice Gang, who consists of what do you call this? Hawkgirl, Guy Gardner, and Mr. Terrific, right? Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific. So he just wants to defeat Superman, but he wants evidence that Superman is somehow there's like some incriminating evidence to show that Superman needs to be beaten, right? He wants to prove this to the government and the world governments, and that's what he's trying to find out. So he wants to get access to the Fortress of Solitude, and so he sends this girl who I guess he calls the Engineer, right? And the Engineer is this woman her entire body is built with nanobots, and this is Lex Luthor's tech. So Lex Luthor took this person and completely converted her into a full-on android. She's lost her humanity, and she admits it as well at some point. And he's using her as like a puppet to try to what do you call this? Find a way into Superman's base. So she doesn't. She spots the Fortress of Solitude, but it disappears before she could reach it. And Superman flies off to fight the Hammer of Baravia, and Superman gets beaten again. So no one knows why Superman is suddenly being defeated by this one particular person, but it makes sense because it is his actual clone, right? But here's the thing. Here's the weird thing about Superman's clone. Superman's clone is not intelligent, Apparently, Lex is able to make a clone of him, but it's an imperfect clone. And so he's not able to talk, he's not able to think for himself. So what Lex does is Lex actually tries to he installs some module or something inside Ultraman, so he can be controlled by Lex's voice commands. So Lex is actually in like a tower, like Lex Luthor cops like a tower, and from the tower he's remotely controlling Ultraman by shouting voice commands into Ultraman's head. And Ultraman's hearing these voice commands, and he's able to use those commands to choose what actions to do against Superman. So it's almost like Lex Luthor shouting, like it's like playing a chess match, and he's just shouting out like B2, C12, D24, or whatever, right? And all these commands are playing on. Apparently, Lex has found 2,500 counter moves against Superman. So you're telling me that there's 2,500 counter moves against the fastest, strongest being on the planet. Um, okay, it's very cartoonish. I admit it. Like, first of all, you think, okay, so you're telling me that Lex Luthor's voice commands are faster than Superman's super speed. Because realistically, yes, Ultraman is really fast, right? Like, if Lex Luthor shouts a counter move, Ultraman is able to reach Superman in time to do the counter. But these are counter moves. Like, Superman is coming to punch Ultraman. So you're telling me that Superman is never going to change course? He's never going to try to do a dummy? It's like Superman is just this bumbling buffoon as well. He's just an idiot. He always flies straight. He always hits straight. He always gets countered. So Superman's really an idiot in just the way he fights. And this is very different from Man of Steel. In Man of Steel, if you see the way Superman actually fights, he actually tries to take on these Kryptonians using martial arts, right? And you can tell that, oh, don't know whether he learned it in the real world, he learned it, from his Kryptonian, like the time he spent on the Kryptonian ship. But whatever it is, Superman is not an idiot in Man of Steel. He's intelligent. He's able to think of counter moves, and he's trying to fight against as you will see Zod and his team, right? And you know that Zod and his team are warriors, so they're able to like counter him back, and they're able to fight him. And at first he struggles against them because he's never fought someone at his strength with the same level of skill that he has. Right, but he's still a fighter. He knows how to fight. Like, he doesn't just go and punch. Right, he actually tries to counter them. He moves around. He tries to dodge them. He tries to fly away from them. And when he's caught, there's a 2v1 fight in Man of Steel, which I absolutely love because you can see that these two people are trying to stop Superman, and Superman is outmatched, but he knows how to fight, and you can see in his techniques he tries to outmaneuver them, he tries to fly away from them. He knows he's outmatched, but still he's doing what a person would do in a 2v1 situation to fight these two people, right? And in a 1v1, he often knows a way to try to like think how to fight. He tries to bring advantage to himself, and he does all of this while looking out for people around him who may be in harm's way. He can save people and fight at the same time. It's absolutely amazing how he does this in Man of Steel. And I think that's one of the greatest moments I think in this film is the way it's a Smallville fight. Right, as messy as that fight was, it's pretty darn realistic if you think about it. Because if these super beings were to be fighting in this zone, and this guy is outmatched, but he knows he has to do what he has to do, right? It really is impressive the way that scene was taken. In this one, this Superman is just kind of dumb. He just flies straight. He hits hard. So against all the people who can't stop a Superman who flies straight, they get beaten. But against anyone who can fight a Superman who flies straight, that's when Superman struggles. And it's just, I don't know. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. So fine. So he gets beaten by the Hammer of Bravia again, and then he falls into like this pit, which you also see in the trailers. He lands in like this little ditch or something, and in the ditch, there is like some Indian guy or whatever who says that, oh, there was once he gave Superman food or something, and he remembers Superman. Superman apparently helped him as well, and he helped Superman get up, and there's some people surrounding him immediately, and they are, for whatever reason, they are not afraid that the Hammer Bravia is just hovering right there above them, and Hammer Bravia can actually kill all of them. I think they very much understand that the Hammer just wants to fight Superman, so they're not afraid. And I mean, okay, I guess I don't know. Like, realistically, you're trying to show people with all these selfies and this very Gen Alpha kind of behavior, but you're telling me people won't be afraid when there's a super being fighting Superman in your vicinity? You could die at any time, dude. So I don't know. Like, some parts are just they're trying to make it make sense with the real world. Some parts are just like too comic-y and they don't quite match, and that's a bit weird. There's some differences in the way that people behave throughout this film. But I can get used to it. I can get behind most of that. But that's when things start to slowly go into the story where everything falls apart, right? So after he gets rescued, people think like, okay, so what now? So Lex Luthor actually knows that the Fortress of Solitude is in a specific location. So he takes the engineer, he takes Ultraman, and he goes towards the Fortress of Solitude. And then engineer is like, so how are we going to get access? When Lex walks up there with the two of them, the door just opens for them. And then she's wondering how he did that. But I think she has an inkling and she kind of knows why because she gives this look like, no way you did it, right? So Ultraman is actually the reason why the Fortress of Solitude just opens up, is because it matches with Superman's DNA. But here's the thing. So the Fortress of Solitude can't identify a clone of Superman. Okay, I guess. So it's a very simple key lock. It's just a DNA, right? And that means you could have just anyone can make a clone of Superman, and the Fortress of Solitude is just going to let them in. In a civilization that established cloning, because Kryptonians are all about cloning. I don't know if you guys know this, but Kryptonians are all about cloning. And Man of Steel is the one that explains this the best. They've been cloning their future generations from the Codex because they already established they stopped establishing natural birth. They went into full cloning because it was just more efficient. It worked better, and women can work. So they just breed all the children from these machines. It's basically like the ultra liberal future, right? Where they realize that it's just inefficient for women to keep getting pregnant. You rather just have them all work, work, work. And they can be supermodels and they can keep doing whatever they want. So the machines are what breed the Kryptonians, right? So they know all about cloning technology. They even made Doomsday, like in the original comics. It's a failed clone and whatever, right? So there's a lot of things in the original Superman which tells you that cloning is canon to Kryptonians, so they wouldn't be fooled by a clone. There's a lot of things that they take into account. But it's fine. I'll let it go for the sake of them just trying to show that Lex is smart. And I think there are times that the clones of Superman, that idea would work. So I'll let it pass. So the clone of Superman unlocks the Fortress of Solitude. They go in, and these robots are the only one to recognize that that's not Superman. And he's wearing a suit of like his face is masked, so they can't see him either. So he and the engineer just trash all of these robots and fight within the Fortress of Solitude, and they do all of that, right? So after they defeat the robots, Crypto tries to cut in to try to stop them, but then the engineer she releases like these nanobots which catch Crypto in the head, and that stops Crypto, that suffocates Crypto. Crypto falls down and they capture Crypto. And then the engineer assimilates into the Kryptonian technology. She converts into nanobots to try to go into the Kryptonian machine to try to gain knowledge about Superman, because Lex just wants to find something to incriminate Superman. And so what Lex finds is the footage of Superman's parents telling him that you've been sent to Earth to do good, blah blah. And here's the thing: this is the worst part of the film, and it starts very early on. And what happens is they actually find the full footage of what the message was to Superman, right? And later on, when Superman is just solving some fights and he's just fighting a monster or whatever, they defeat this giant monster that Lex sends out as a distraction so that he can get into the fortress. So after Superman defeats this giant kaiju, which you'll see in the trailer, you'll also seen that already. So he fights this giant kaiju. They defeat the kaiju. It's kind of cute, that fight. I enjoyed that fight. It felt very much like the new Suicide Squad where they were fighting the giant star enemy or whatever. It feels similar to that because in the giant star film they were like punching the eye of the monster to defeat it. In this as well, they try to punch the eye of the kaiju. I don't know what's it with James Gunn and eyeballs. Like I don't know. He just likes eyeballs for some reason. I feel like that's a fetish he has, which is, hurting people in the eyeballs. I don't know. Superman defeats the thing, and after he defeats it, when crowds are cheering and all of that, footage gets released throughout the entire world. I think it comes in all the TV screens and what on the billboards, the giant billboards, everyone's phones. Obviously, they start to get a footage of Superman's the clip of Superman's parents of who sent him to Earth, and what they tell like son, yes, you're here to do good and help the human race, but you're also supposed to rule mercilessly over them. You have to create a harem where you have to take as many wives as possible to spread your seed, to keep the Kryptonian gene going. And you're actually there to conquer and rule Earth. And that's the full message. So do good, guide the human race, but conquer and rule them. Take as many wives to spread the Kryptonian seed. And yeah, so that's like that. So this is actually closer to the Zod, the Son of Zod story arc. There's a comic where I can't quite fully remember it, but it's where instead of Superman coming to Earth, instead of Jor-El's son, it's Zod's son that gets sent to it. It's like an alternate universe timeline. I think there's a animated film as well about this, right? So it's an alternate timeline where Zod's son is the one that arrives on Earth, and Zod is the one that tells him, "You are here to rule Earth and rule." And he actually turns out to be something like closer to the Injustice Superman, just from the get-go, right? The Injustice Superman instead is a bit more interesting of a timeline because all that happens because Joker kills Lois Lane, and Superman, who was under the influence of this kryptonite, what do you call this? Like kryptonite is used as a illusion, like a chemical to create an illusion in Superman's brain. It works together with the Scarecrow's formula or something like that. So Scarecrow finds a way to use kryptonite in his formula, so that affects Superman's brain. So Superman thinks that Lois Lane is Doomsday, and he punches straight through her heart. That kills her, and then this is all part of Joker's evil scheme. And so Superman just goes batshit crazy, and that's how Injustice happened, which is justified. Injustice is justifiable, right? But in this story, they're just saying that Superman's parents are like Zod, actually, right? So Kal-El in this world is actually evil. He's sent by his evil Jor-El and Lara or whatever, right? So then Superman breaks down. He's like, "Oh shit, I'm actually sent here to do evil." And then, so as the audience, you think, okay, maybe, this is fake footage. Maybe later on they reveal that, the footage was faked by Lex Luthor. No, it's not addressed until the end of the film. It's just not addressed. So they just like, oh, Superman is now going to just defy the words of his original parents to stick to the words of his, Kansas parents. But even his Kansas parents don't have the right words to help him, because when he goes and tells his dad, like, hey, eventually he meets Ma and Pa Kent when he's recovering from kryptonite poisoning, because there was a fight which involves kryptonite. He goes back and tells them, like, hey, I found out about this. This is not very good. Even the dialogues between him and Pa Kent were just not good enough, like to make you feel like, oh, so he's able to convince him somehow that maybe, you were sent here to do evil, or maybe that's just the way Kryptonians think. Is like that we are an inferior race and we need to be ruled, and maybe it's more like Viltrumites kind of concept, like what's his name, Omni-Man, right? It's more like the Viltrumites Omni-Man, where maybe you're sent here to rule over people and all of that, but you having grown up and lived on Earth, I think you're old enough to decide for yourself what's the right thing to do, right? And he could have said something a bit more obvious to that, but he didn't. He just made it seem like, oh, you can, you I can't remember the exact dialogue, but quite frankly, no one was inspired by that. Trust me. So after he finds out about this past and all of that, you also see the scene in the trailer where he walks into like what looks like a bank or something, and the Justice Gang follow him, and then Green Lantern asks him like, "Hey, dude, so you have a secret harem? Do you have a secret harem you didn't tell me about?" Then Superman's like, "No, I don't have a secret harem, right?" And he puts it that way, and that's it. That's that scene. Like, this film is 2 hours long. It moves from scene to scene where things continuously happen. It's really, really fast, right? And the pacing of it, I don't mind. But the problem is the dialogues don't really match with the pacing because you get all these little short, witty dialogues and things happening from scene to scene, and but no one in this film does anything remotely intelligent to want to even investigate. Because when the video footage comes out, even Mr. Terrific just accepts the fact, saying like the people who review this footage obviously would have checked whether it's fake or it's real. Dude, this is footage from a Kryptonian ship. It's not an MP4. It's not a WAV. It's not an MOV. No one knows what the file format is for a fucking Kryptonian ship, right? There's no way anyone knows what this whether this video footage is real or Lex Luthor has modified it with his engineer, who's this nanobot technology creature that no one else in the world is. Like all of this is completely alien. How is anyone going to check the file format of a Kryptonian ship video footage? I've heard bullshit, guys, but this is Kryptonian level bullshit, right? This is James Gunn level bullshit, right? And so everyone just buys the fact that this video is real. Mr. Terrific, so everyone agrees that this video is real, right? And they just go on with it. And so now Superman is all of a sudden an outcast. He's afraid to do good because he thinks that he's here to do evil. And then there's this scene of him and Lois in an apartment where they're trying to establish some romance, some scenes between them, and some kissing and all of that. And quite frankly, it is refreshing to see that couples kiss again because I don't think we got too much of that in a lot of other recent films. So it's kind of nice. And even for Jimmy Olsen, who's this guy sitting with the camera here, Jimmy Olsen is actually a reasonably important part of this. The weird thing is that girls in this film, like in the Daily Planet, right, and just some other girls in random, they like Jimmy Olsen. They think he's cute. I I asked my wife, like, do you think this guy looks cute? And she's like, no. She's like, he looks worse than the guy who played Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire, I guess. Tobey Maguire looked much better than whatever this is, right? I don't know. Is it just me? Do you girls find this guy hot? The 1% of girls who are watching this video? I don't know. I don't think so. But whatever. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe there's a group of people who actually find this attractive. He doesn't look attractive. Like if you give him a wig with long blonde hair, he probably even passes as a woman. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But whatever, right? So girls are attracted to this guy. Even the Daily Planet, some of the interns or whatever, they're like giving him a side eye and stuff like that um, to look interested. But it turns out this guy is actually boyfriends with the PA to Lex Luthor, who is where is that girl? The girl who always takes selfies and records stuff, the social media girl, and this girl. So apparently, this girl is constantly recording clips and always trying to record Superman, doing things and doing mistakes and whatnot. And she's sort of like the social geek who organizes Lex Luthor's social team, which later they show who the social team is. The social team is actually a horde of monkeys. I'm guessing they're also cloned monkeys who are sitting in front of computers just typing out all day to create internet rage bait against Superman, right? So he established a social media team to take on Superman, a science team, a physical. So Lex Luthor's got this covered from all sides, right? So this woman, even though they show her like she's just this social geek idiot or whatever, actually she's not. She's quite smart. So all the time she takes selfies, she actually takes important evidence in the background of her selfies while looking all hot. And for some reason, Lex Luthor, the most intelligent person on the planet, doesn't know this. Lex Luthor, who is able to take on Superman and the Justice Gang and organize the biggest criminal profile under the guise of the US government, doesn't know that the social media girl who he has with him the entire time has been taking selfies of evidence and having chats with Jimmy Olsen of the Daily Planet. Like, what? You create clones and use chess commands to fight Superman, and you don't have and you create a nanobot nanobot technology super being, which is the engineer, and you don't know that your social media expert is taking incriminating photos of your, like of the stuff you're doing and is in contact with Jimmy Olsen from the Daily Planet. You didn't even wiretap her phone. You know, she's walking in the street to meet Jimmy Olsen once, and she's like, "There's no cameras here, so I can avoid Lex Luthor." Like, bitch, you think he doesn't tap your phone? Apparently he doesn't. There's no GPS trackers in her butthole, right? He has a nanobot engineer, and she has no nanobots in this girl. Like, what are you even talking about? This is such a weird thing. Because, and if you think that, oh, maybe they just don't put nanobots into people in this story, no, they do. Mr. Terrific did. Mr. Terrific actually put nanobots in Superman to track where he is. And when they ask him about it, he casually says that, yeah, I do that to everyone. Don't take it the wrong way. I do it to everyone. So that means Mr. Terrific has put in nanobots into Guy Gardner's Green Lantern and even Hawkgirl. So if Mr. Terrific can do it, then why doesn't the engineer and Lex Luthor do it? They should know where she is all the time because she's always with Lex Luthor and she's always taking photos. That's like the most dangerous thing in the world. So completely broke the plot, completely made this whole relationship between her and Jimmy Olsen pointless because there's nothing intelligent about it in the first place. They try to show like, oh, so she's so smart, she's taking selfies with of evidence in the background while she's trying to just show hot pictures of her to Jimmy Olsen. No, you idiots! Lex Luthor would have known about this. Like, James Gunn, what are you talking about, dude? You established such a dangerous villain, such an intelligent villain. You established that nanobots can be put into people in this universe. There's an entire person made of nanobots. And she's avoiding video cameras in the streets? Okay, so let that pass, right? Let's forget about her. She's irrelevant again to the plot. These are all these characters who are there to fill up the plot, trying to make it seem as though they're important. They are not, right? And aside from all of that, um, here's what else happens. So eventually comes to a point where Superman decides, okay, so in order to clear my name, the only way I can do it is I have to surrender myself to the U.S. government. And so the U.S. government comes and they arrest him, and he's like, "Aren't you going to read me my rights?" And they're like, "You're an alien. We don't read you your rights." Well, that that actually makes sense. I think if you're an alien, yes, you don't deserve the same rights as a U.S. citizen, right? That makes perfect sense, right? But that's not the point. Like they both gave stupid dialogues. Like in the Man of Steel, the reason they respect Superman when they arrest him is because they know they can't catch Superman. They know Superman is surrendering of his own volition because he's Superman. There's nothing the US government has that can actually catch him. That's how powerful he is. So the fact that they have to put him in cuffs, that's all voluntary from Superman. There's nothing they can do if that dude decides to just walk out. As you will see in the very next scene with him in the interrogation room, where he just moves his hands and the handcuffs just come apart, right? Like he doesn't even need to put effort to break it. He just has to move his hand and they snap because the world is paper, tissue, like cardboard and tissues to him, right? He's just way too powerful and strong. This scene. This is a very important scene because all of these guys who are surrounding him and holding him, you must understand that they know how insignificant and pointless they are. They're just there for this shot to make this shot look cool. But in reality, Superman could be in and out of this place, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Right? In this film, they try to arrest him. They somehow push him down to the ground, put his head on the ground as though they can, and they put handcuffs on him. That's not how it's gonna work. He's gonna be standing. You're just gonna put those cuffs around him, like just putting like some wires or tape. You could put anything, or you could tie it with string. It doesn't matter, dude. Nothing matters when you're arresting Superman. That's the truth about it. In this, they're like, oh, shove him to the ground. They arrest him. And it's like, why didn't you read me my own rights? They're like, oh, you're an alien, so you don't have rights. I mean, that's not the point, you idiots. He's Superman. What are you gonna do, right? And so they arrest him, and turns out they don't actually take him to an established, like a human prison, because they know they can't contain him there. So they take him through a portal to Lex Luthor's prison, and Lex Luthor's prison is obviously like this glass box where he meets Elemental Man. Elemental Man actually, I think, is another name in the comics. Uh, what would it be? I can't quite remember. Elemental Man. Let me just look it up. Give me a sec. Right, it's Metamorpho. Right, it's Metamorpho. So Metamorpho is in the glass prison with him. There we go, it's Metamorpho. Yeah, this guy. So Metamorpho. So Metamorpho is there with him in the prison, and Metamorpho, Lex calls him Elemental Man, or Element Man, or whatever. Right. So Metamorpho is the one in charge of converting his hands into kryptonite to keep an eye on Superman, which is how Superman ends up with kryptonite poisoning. Right. And the reason Metamorpho is doing this is because they have Metamorpho's kid locked up in the like a glass box opposite where they are kept. And so Metamorpho has to sit with Superman in this box at all times, or this dude, the Lex Luthor is hired, some henchman who's sitting with Metamorpho's kid, will do bad things to the kid. What are the bad things he will do to the kid? We never find out at the very end because he doesn't do anything to the kid. He doesn't shoot the kid. He doesn't pinch the kid. Like I don't know. Does this kid even get fed? We don't know. We don't see it. The kid is just there in the glass box with the other guy. There's no scenes of the guy ever like at least feeding. Like the kid, if you have a kid like a baby with you, you know how much of attention the baby needs. He needs to be fed. He needs to change diapers. He needs to be given a shower. Nothing is happening to this kid. The kid is just there like throughout the entire I don't know 48 hours or whatever. Superman 24 hours or whatever Superman's captured for. I don't see anything happen. Like there's no changes to what has supposed to happen to this kid. And they keep Superman and all these people in these glass boxes. Like apparently all the people who were upset with Lex, were angry with Lex. So Lex has created like this super underground portal prison where everyone is just in these glass boxes. There's no toilets, everyone's just wearing whatever clothes they got captured in. So maybe time just doesn't work the same in this portal dimension. So let's just take the Ant-Man theory for this respect, and let's just assume that time really doesn't work the regular way in this world, right? So it's like how in the Ant-Man portal, the time doesn't move or whatever. So maybe here it kind of works the same way. Time just doesn't work the same way, right? So let's just agree to that and not wonder. I don't know. So everyone's moving the same way, they breathe the same way, kryptonite radiation works the same way, but they don't eat or shit. But let's just take it's comic, right? Let's just say it's a comic book, so we're gonna just ignore all of that. So they're all just stuck in these glass boxes as their prisons. Somehow that works. Metamorpho is using kryptonite to keep Superman locked down. So while all this happened, Lois Lane is trying to find out where they've taken Superman because they can't figure it out. And so she goes to Mr. Terrific, and Mr. Terrific says that this is when he says that I've actually have put nanobots into everyone to track where they are at all times. How the nanobots work inside a being as powerful as Superman, whose body is full of solar radiation, I don't want to know. I don't care. It's in some comics they don't either. They know that there's nothing they can do to Superman otherwise, so they allow nanobots to just work on him. So let's just say the nanobots work, and Mr. Terrific has put one in him. They track that his trail disappears at some point. So Mr. Terrific believes that maybe there is a portal that leads to another dimension. So Guy Gardner's Green Lantern and Hawkgirl don't want to help. They just don't want to help at this point. I don't know why they don't want to help Superman. Like Superman in this film does not command any respect. No one respects him. Right? Even in Man of Steel, even though they just met the guy and they know that he is sending him back is the key to saving the human race. They still respect the dude because he has helped them. He knows Superman helps people. They know Superman helps people, right? And even at the point they don't trust him enough. Eventually, when he helps them in Smallville, even the soldiers respect him. Like even if they've been given orders to shoot him, they don't. They hold back because they did see the guy saving people, saving their soldiers, fighting with them, and they defy their orders to hold their, like to not shoot him. And then finally the colonel tells them that this man is one of us. And then he says, "Thank you, Colonel," something like that, and he flies off, right? So he commands respect where he goes. He has gravitas in when he is there in their presence. They know what he's capable of, and that he chooses to do good, and that alone means so much to everyone, right? But in this film, no one respects him. Guy Gardner doesn't, Hawkgirl doesn't, Mr. Terrific's the only one like, okay, fine, let's go and find out where they have captured your boyfriend. And Lois Lane is like, he's not my okay, fine, whatever, right? And so they agree that everyone knows Superman's identity. They know so Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific know that he is Clark Kent, which makes sense. I'm sure they'll be intelligent enough to figure that out. Lex Luthor didn't. Somehow in this world, Lex Luthor is not as intelligent to figure out that he is Clark Kent, which is weird. Like I don't know how that logic plays off. Like Lex Luthor is kind of dumb actually. He doesn't have nanobots that Mr. Terrific has. He can create this portal, yes, but he doesn't have nanobots. He doesn't know who Superman is. Mr. Terrific has nanobots, knows who Superman is. Yeah, that's kind of how it works in this film. Lex Luthor is particularly good at cloning people, creating portals, and creating Ultraman to fight Superman, creating a nanobot engineer, but he doesn't know all these other things that everyone else knows. So I don't know. That's just the dynamics of intelligence, I guess, in this world. I guess you can't know everything. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense, right? So yeah. So anyway, they go into this dimension. They figure out that there is a portal, and Mr. Terrific comes to land in some area in what is this Middle Eastern looking location where there's like a army base camp, and they are like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here." And Mr. Terrific just walks in there with Lois Lane, and she's like, they're gonna shoot at us, right?" Or something like that. And then there's this fight scene which happens when Mr. Terrific is just taking out this entire base camp, this army camp full of people, and you would think, okay, this is going to be the Quicksilver scene, right? Where this is going to be the cool scene, like where in Guardians of the Galaxy when Yondu gets his weapon, he whistles and the weapon kills everyone. You think like this is going to be the cool scene which you get to see Mr. Terrific just taking out all of these people. Okay, the scene sucked, and let me tell you why it sucked. So Mr. Terrific is fighting all of these people in the desert, like this army camp, right? Um, and while he does this, the camera angle perspective that we get to see this fight scene is where Lois is inside this like this force field, like this red colored force field, and so she watches this fight scene from inside this red bubble force field. And our camera angle is from behind Lois Lane, or we're looking at Lois Lane, looking outside the bubble where Mr. Terrific is fighting outside. There are one or two clips where they cut out to outside the bubble to show where Mr. Terrific is moving, but a lot of the scene comes back to inside the bubble where we see Lois Lane seeing through the bubble to see Mr. Terrific fight. It is one of the worst action sequences I have seen ever, like ever. This is such a horrible take to what should have been the best action scene in the film. Mr. Terrific definitely has the best action scene in the film, and that was the one that I just told you. Right? No one else has an action scene that's close to what Mr. Terrific does in that army base camp. Right? Everything else just sucks. So that was the it moment. That should have been the best moment in the film, but it just wasn't. Um, And Mr. Terrific actually has some of the best lines of dialogue as well in this film. It's like this quirky short quips he tells about where Lois Lane's like, can your circles, reach Superman? Can they find Superman? And he's like, circles? Excuse me? These are spheres. They're three-dimensional objects or whatever. And that's the only time I heard people in the cinema chuckle, like properly actually get the joke, because it was an intelligent joke. Everything else in this film just didn't. Like all the other jokes in this film just didn't really land. Right, so they open up the portal. Mr. Terrific manages to figure out how the portal unlocking was. He unlocks it, and he sends the spheres into the portal to go and find where Superman is. So you think, okay, so maybe Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific need to help Superman to get out of the glass box. While all this is happening, guess what? Superman actually doesn't need their help. He's already getting out by himself. And how he's doing this, he's going to talk no jutsu, um, what do you call this? Element Man, I guess, which is Metamorpho. He's just going to talk not just to Metamorpho, and it just works. He's just telling Metamorpho, I can reach your kid. And Metamorpho is like, you can reach my kid before Lex can get here. Like, what are you even talking about? There's a guy with your kid in the other glass. The moment he sees you turn off the kryptonite from your hands, do you think he's just not gonna kill the kid? That's another thing about this film is other than the giant kaiju, no one else dies. You really don't feel like people are gonna die in this film. That they're not gonna kill Metamorpho's kid. The only other guy who dies is that Indian guy who goes to help Superman at the beginning. Lex Luthor actually brings him in to try to intimidate Superman, and then he shoots the guy. And then Superman cries, Metamorpho cries. Yeah, that's about it. That's the scene. He brings the guy in the guy tells Superman, he tells Superman, tell me who raised you as a child, and then he shoots the other guy, and then he shoots the Indian guy. He dies, and that's it. That's the scene. That's the intimidation scene. You have Metamorpho's kid right there, dude. Like you could do worse. You could bring in just any kid, any other kid instead of that Indian dude. Maybe that Indian dude's family, and that would have worked. Not just him. Bring his wife and his kid. You know? And you know what? You know what the Indian guy says? I don't have a family. Don't tell them anything. I don't have a family. I don't have a wife. I don't have a kid. Let them do whatever they want to me. Lex picked the worst guy in the world to interrogate Superman, and that's the only time he even tries. He brings in this Indian guy without a family. Which Indian guy doesn't have a family? I mean, like, what on earth is this? It's just so weird. At least make it make sense, right? If you want to intimidate Superman, you better bring someone's family. And in Man of Steel, as you can see, what's his name? Zod actually comes to the farm. He tries to intimidate Martha, and then he's like, "Where is the Codex?" And then Superman, the Codex literally flies towards him and hits him and takes him out. Like Superman is the Codex, right? Superman flies in. It's like, "You think you can threaten my mother?" You know? And even in the original Superman, Superman literally turns back time because Lois Lane dies, because that's how much family and and people he loves means to him. But you just bring some random ass dude just to show that, oh, I can kill people if I want to, and he kills this random guy that literally no one cares about. And Superman cries, Metamorpho cries, and then Superman says, I can reach your child. Metamorpho's like, really? So he turns off his kryptonite hands, and then he asks Superman, why aren't you healing? So for like 10 minutes, Superman and Metamorpho are trying to figure out how to get Superman out of the box. The guy who's holding Metamorpho's kit, the henchman who's holding Metamorpho's kit in the glass box across from what's happening, can see this entire thing play out, doesn't threaten them, doesn't kill the kid, right? Doesn't tell Lex that, hey, Lex, should I kill the kid? Superman's gonna get out of the glass box and Metamorpho is helping him. I think I should kill the kid. Lex will be like, yeah, kill the kid. And then he tells Metamorpho, I'm going to count to three to kill the kid unless you turn your kryptonite hands back on. Metamorpho sits back down, turns on the kryptonite hands, and they got control once again. None of that happens. Instead, Metamorpho tells Superman, I can create something that mimics the sun. He starts putting all the atoms of helium and all of that together, and he creates a mini sun which recovers Superman. Superman breaks through the glass box to the other, saves Metamorpho's son, and then he goes into this I don't know, some fight scene, very goofy ass fight scene in this portal dimension where there's like this river full of, I don't know, like some kind of atomic like some kind of antimatter or something like that. And Mr. Terrific tells like that antimatter field is very dangerous. We will die if we go into it. Superman and Metamorpho's kid are just swimming through it the entire time throughout the fight scene. They're just swimming through it. Nothing happens to them. Nothing happens to Superman. Nothing happens to the kid. Even the bunch of thugs and goons, they just jump into the river to fight Superman. Nothing happens to any of them. So that river is just like a Teletubby fountain river. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't harm anyone. So I don't know what Mr. Terrific is so afraid about. They could just swim through the river at any time to save Superman. And so Krypto, Superman frees Krypto. Krypto is also captured by Lex Luthor. He puts Krypto on like this treadmill where he just sees squirrels and he's just moving all the time, chasing after squirrels for the entire time. So Krypto's also a dumbass dog. He doesn't provide any help to the plot. He doesn't really help. Yeah, he doesn't really help the plot in any way because ultimately Superman, yes, he wants to get arrested because he wants to try to save Krypto. He wants to know where Krypto is. Um, but I don't think it's good enough because Krypto is just not very helpful of a dog or anything like that in the first place. And if you want to say like, oh, Superman just cares so much, even though he's a bad dog, because he loves the dog, he wants to go and do all of these things. Fine, but this is the way he gets in and gets out just doesn't really help the story. So Superman gets out with Mr. Terrific, and then by that time, Lex Luthor is just pissed that Superman got out, so he decides to open a bigger rift to destroy the world unless Superman comes to attention. So he opens up a bigger rift. Superman comes back to try to, help Mr. Terrific, and Mr. Terrific is saying, I need to find a way to stop Lex. So when Superman tries to do that, Ultraman, of course, intervenes and fights Superman, and so does the engineer. During this entire time, there's a war. The war in Boravia, whatever, is coming back. That felt very much like the Israel-Palestine conflict, where the more advanced soldiers, who are the Israeli soldiers, are actually oppressing the Palestinian people. But this is a thing that's been going on forever. Like Israel and Palestine have been fighting forever, so no one cares, quite frankly. So these people are getting attacked, and so Hawkgirl and Green Lantern both go there to stop the war. I think Green Lantern should be able to handle it by himself. I think at least Hawkgirl should have come to try to fight this engineer, but that doesn't happen. So Mr. Terrific is just fixing things most of the time, so he doesn't have time to fight anyone. Superman is the only one doing all the fighting, which I think is okay, right? Because I at least need Superman to do some fighting in this film. So he's fighting Ultraman, and as usual, Lex Luthor shouting chess moves. So his game plan is that he gets the engineer to convert it into nanoparticles to go into Superman, to go into his lungs to block out air. So he says that it'll take a minute. But Superman is there choking from these nanobots for like 10 minutes. Nothing happens to him. He flies into the sky, which is about another, I don't know, 2, 3 minutes. Nothing happens to him. And then he comes down at super speeds to crash into the earth. Nothing happens to Superman still. He's absolutely fine. Even though the nanobots have fully taken over his lungs, he's fine. He crashes into the earth, so they underestimate him clearly. None of Lex's plans works. The engineer is unconscious. Superman pulls out the nanobots from his mouth with his hands, like pulling out, like that cord they put into you to give you emergency oxygen or whatever. So he pulls that all out of his mouth, which doesn't make sense because the nanobots in his lungs shouldn't be able to be pulled out from your mouth. Your mouth and your lungs are not connected in that way, but never mind. So he does that. I thought Superman is just gonna go into like his solar bomb or whatever. Like he's just gonna detonate himself with his superpower, like his solar power, right? That would make more sense because the nanobots will just evaporate. I thought that would be it. Like that's the easiest thing to do. This is a power that Superman has had forever in the comics. Just make him go and just go boom. So he's like leaving the Earth's atmosphere because he wants to just detonate. And so he detonates and that clears all the solar particles. And then Lex Luthor can be like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. They could have just done that. And that would have also slightly weakened Superman, just putting him back on the back foot, showing like Ultraman maybe has an opportunity now. So there's an easy way to do this plot. And James Gunn just didn't think about all of this, which is so weird. I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody fan of Superman, and I can think of all of this like way ahead of the film. So for me to tell me that everyone who watched everyone who worked on this entire film didn't think about it is just so stupid, right? So Superman somehow pulls out the nanobots from his mouth, and apparently that's done. He's back to normal. He fights Ultraman in the worst CGI fight scene I've seen. It's worse than the Black Panther fight scene. I think Black Panther is one of the worst CGI fight scenes in the finale. Him versus Killmonger, but this one was pretty bad too. So after the horrible fight scene, Superman is being beaten by Lex Luthor, who's shouting C12, D24, A1, A3, or whatever, and is punching all these counter moves. So Lex Luthor's voice commands are faster than Superman because he's able to predict the counter moves and tell him to Ultraman, and Ultraman does the counter. Finally, Superman figures out that Ultraman is a clone because he opens up the mask, and Lex Luthor's like, yes, I cloned you. I needed this guy to get access to the fortress and defeat you, and it's working for me. And then he tells Superman like brains beats brawn. And then Superman repeats the dialogue shortly after in the fight. He's like, oh yeah, brains beat brawn. And he whistles. And so Krypto comes to the rescue. Where is Krypto in between all of this? In some random pet shop, just eating dog food or something. Krypto is like the stupidest thing in this entire movie. I don't know why it's even there. It serves no purpose in this film. Like you're telling me that Krypto is the only one who could have lured Superman into that mega prison? No, Lois Lane could have. You could have captured Lois Lane and let Superman go and rescue Lois Lane, and that would have been good enough. You don't need, or you can capture even what's his name, Jimmy Olsen. That would have also been fine. Superman would have still literally anyone besides Krypto and Superman would have gone to rescue them, right? It didn't matter. Krypto didn't matter at all in the story. So Krypto comes to the rescue at this point, and Krypto and Superman fight off Ultraman. And after that, there's this army of super soldiers that Lex also sends after Superman, saying like, "I've been preparing this army for a while." And you see this scene in the trailer as well. Superman flies to the sky and just lasers all of them. And you would think that Superman is just killing all these people in the lasering scene, right? No, nobody dies. Literally nobody dies in this film. So they're not gonna die. They all just fall down. There's a bunch of semi-android humans or whatever, but nobody dies. Even the engineer doesn't die. They say like, oh, her heartbeat is really low, but she's also not dead. And then does Ultraman even die? I can't even remember whether Ultraman even dies. I don't know about that. Um, I don't think it matters, quite frankly. Does he die? Can't really remember that. And that's about it. The film comes to an end. No one explains that Superman's parents sent him here to Earth to take over and conquer Earth and do an evil thing. Green Lantern is terrible. He doesn't really do anything. Maybe it's a good actor who does a decent role, but doesn't really play an important role in this film. He and Hawkgirl spend the entire balance of the film just fighting in Boravia or whatever. They don't even show them fight properly. You just see that scene in the trailer where he flips off a bunch of tanks, and Hawkgirl is just screaming all the time. Super annoying. And Isabella Merced, I think I saw her in Dora the Explorer, so me and my wife immediately recognized her. Like, hey, that's Dora, right? And we were like, yeah, she's Dora, and she was terrible as well. I don't see how she helped the film in any way. Mr. Terrific, I think, was the best part of this entire film, and Lois Lane was actually nice. Like the actress played a very good part, I think, and her dialogues were pretty good too. But Superman never saves her in this film. I think that's one thing weird. Like in all the other Supermans, even Man of Steel, 1978 Superman, even BVS, Superman saves Lois Lane. They just didn't have that in this film. So she never really was the damsel in distress, and in fact, she didn't really do much either. She tried to find out the plot that which Lex Luthor had against Superman and leaked that to the entire world. And so she works with Perry White and Jimmy Olsen to write up a story and publish it to the world to say that hey, Superman was actually, Lex Luthor actually had this evil plan to stop Superman. But you see, the thing is, Superman is established as evil in this universe because of the dialogues they got from his parents. So by right, people should be with Lex Luthor on this idea. They'd be like, oh, so Lex Luthor actually wanted to do this entire plot to take over a country and to beat Superman. I think we can give a country to Lex Luthor, the guy who wants to save planet Earth, who wants to stop this alien from starting a harem and taking over our women. I think guys would be up for that. I think guys would back up Lex Luthor knowing that this alien is just going to fuck all of their women, right? I think that's totally acceptable. So I'm on Lex Luthor's side, and I think Lex Luthor is undeservingly the villain in this story. I think he's a real hero. He really tried to stop this evil alien from taking over the planet, and I think everyone else in this story is just evil, right? I think Lex Luthor, we need justice for Lex Luthor. I think Nicholas Hoult is a very good Lex Luthor. He did a brilliant job. And I think he's undersold, and I think it's not fair to say that he wasn't intelligent enough to have the nanobots defeat Superman or to have the nanobots to be inserted up into his social media expert. I think Lex Luthor deserves more justice than what they did in this film. I can't wait for Lex Luthor 2 because I really think that they definitely gotta up his game and show how he comes back to defeat Superman again. Because this piece of shit really needs to die. He really needs to. He's evil. He's sent here for an evil purpose, and it's only a matter of time before he starts to believe his actual purpose is being evil. And that's about the rest of this film. So it was a horrible movie. We hated it. I think it's the worst Superman movie ever made. Is it the worst movie ever made? No, probably not. There's a lot of worse things out there. So the music, nothing special, as I said, not as inspiring as Man of Steel or any other. Even the John Williams theme has been reused in this. So the John Williams theme is just better, right? There's nothing really special about this film. The characters are meh, nothing really special about it. David Gordon Sweat is okay. He's a mid Superman, mid Lois Lane. Probably a better Lois Lane than Amy Adams, to be honest. I didn't really like Amy Adams in particular, but I think the TV series, the Lois and Clark TV series, I think she was the best Lois, probably. Yeah, and maybe and everyone liked the Lois and Clark series, so I think that's understandable. So other than that, I don't think this film is going to be something that people want to rewatch. After a few years, I think after this film, the first thing people do is actually rewatch Man of Steel to appreciate how good Man of Steel was compared to this piece of crap. So I absolutely hated it, and I think that it's kind of the reason why Hollywood has completely taken a downshift and a downturn, and they don't really know what they're doing anymore. And it's really, really sad. They gave it to James Gunn of all people, the Guardians of the Galaxy director. I mean, Guardians was a good film, but because it's Guardians, you clearly can tell that this is not the guy suited to. Like even if you have know nothing about filmmaking, you know that Guardians of the Galaxy has nothing to do with Superman. Like Superman should be its own thing, and they really need a more classic, more inspiring director to take a film, to give more meaning and to show what traditional American values are. And I didn't get that. So that's about me. I'm sorry about this rant, but I enjoy ranting about films I hate, and I really, really, really wanted to like it, which is why when I watch this, which is why I don't have many reviews because I haven't been finding any good films, and this is just not it.
So yeah, thanks for dropping by. I'll see you guys in the next one. And go and watch it if you want to rant like me. Otherwise, go and watch Superman 1978 and Man of Steel. Those are just much better films. Superman 2 was good. Superman 3 was good. Superman 4 is terrible, but hey, it's still better than this piece of shit. Take care.